G'day there, Midas subscribers. My guest today is Rob Tessarolo. He's the CEO of NeonMind Biosciences Inc, trading on the OTC under the symbol NMDBF and in the Canada under the symbol NEON. Rob, welcome.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me here today.
You bet. Rob, can we start with an overview? What is the business model of NeonMind Biosciences?
Sure. NeonMind Biosciences is a drug development organization focused on advancing psychedelic substances through the rigorous clinical trials that are required for FDA approval or Health Canada approval as medicines.
Okay, that's interesting. I have a bit of a history with psychedelics, which is why I regard myself as such a well-adjusted and happy individual. But can you tell me specifically what are the treatments that are being explored and who are they appropriate for?
Sure. So over the last 18 months, I would suspect a lot of the viewers, investors at large, there's been a fairly bright spotlight shone on the psychedelic sector. And what you hear about is a lot of research and development going on, largely focused on what I would call psychiatric indications. So things like ADHD, treatment-resistant depression, suicidal ideation, major depressive disorder, and PTSD. Our organization, NeonMind, is focused on looking at psychedelic substances and how they can affect and support and help with weight management in the obese population. What we know about psychedelic substances is they can have a dramatic effect on the remodeling of how an individual perceives one's self. And there's been there's a growing body of evidence out there that that through psychedelic assisted psychotherapy, patients come out on the other end of that with a renewed sense of self, an altered state of how they see themselves. And when you start looking at obese patients and the disease, the treatment paradigm, you quickly recognize that psychotherapy and behavioral change therapy, is an important part of helping those patients. And so we're evaluating and we're looking to investigate psilocybin in patients that suffer with obesity.
Sure. The regulatory landscape, most psychedelics still occupy Schedule I territory in the regulatory regime. How is that changing to accommodate this business?
Yeah, so I think with respect to the scheduling of these substances, time will tell in terms of the way scheduling will be adapted. But I think importantly, the FDA's got a framework in place that allows for novel compounds, innovative compounds to be granted various special statuses. We've seen psychedelic substances. We've seen psilocybin granted breakthrough designation status, fast track review. We've seen MDMA receive breakthrough status designation in the U.S. And importantly, Spravato or S-ketamine, which is a psychedelic substance, was approved by the FDA almost 2 years ago. So the regulatory pathways in place to submit new drug applications to the FDA to have them evaluate these substances. And we are a believer, NeonMind Biosciences is a believer that the only way to really advance these substances and get psychedelic substances into the mainstream for patients at large is to actually do the clinical trials, demonstrate safety and efficacy, put those files in front of a regulator, and have them approve the medication.
Sure. And so, how far away is it from NeonMind being able to do that?
Yeah, so we believe that within the next 5 years, we will be able to have a new drug application in front of the FDA, and so long as the science supports safety and efficacy, ultimately have psilocybin approved for weight management, in the obese population. It is a long haul. These trials can take an awful lot of time, and they certainly are. But there's a growing body of evidence out there that supports advancing these substances and in making the investments to demonstrate safety and efficacy. We've seen other psychedelic substances advancing rather well or quickly. Even earlier this week, there was a great announcement with respect to some other data that again demonstrates efficacy in a different patient population, but with psychedelic substances. And so, the more evidence that's out there, the growing body of evidence to support safety and efficacy, I think, can help accelerate these patients getting, these substances getting through regulatory frameworks and review.
Sure. So then is the objective for NeonMind to create ultimately a prescribable product?
Right. So we're evaluating psilocybin in two different programs. We have a lower dose. When you look at psilocybin acts on the 5-HT receptors in the brain, and we know that the 5-HT2A receptors are implicated in the hallucinogenic experiences and the hallucinogenic effects. The 5-HT2C receptors are involved with appetite suppression. And so we're advancing two separate programs. One program is a high dose program, which would be used in conjunction with psychotherapy. So we term that drug enhanced psychotherapy. So we would envision a patient in a specialized setting having a guided experience and psychotherapy and behavior therapy associated with that, and ultimately having a change in their behavior and the behavior patterns. On the other hand, the lower dose program that we're advancing would be more of a traditional pharmacotherapy, where it'd be a drug would be prescribed by a physician, picked up at the pharmacy, and the patient would ultimately take that themselves. And there would be, we anticipate that would be a lower dose, sort of below the not high enough to elicit hallucinogenic experience or hallucinogenic effects.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so how does your business model compare with, say, that of COMPASS Pathways, who is clearly the sort of, at least financially, the leader in the space?
Yeah, so COMPASS Pathways, is a very respected company that is well down the road with respect to their drug development. The way I look at COMPASS Pathways, they had a tremendous research idea with respect to applying psilocybin in the treatment-resistant depression indication, so a psychiatric indication. They've done some early work, they've done some early studies, and I believe they're beginning phase three trials, which is one of the steps that's required. So I look at NeonMind Biosciences. We're 3 or 4 years behind COMPASS Pathways. We have a great research idea. It's in a very different indication. The patient population is quite in need of new innovative therapies, the obese population. And so when I look at COMPASS versus NeonMind, we're certainly a startup. We're certainly an organization that is in the early stage. We have preclinical data that demonstrates and supports the efficacy of psilocybin for weight to reduce weight gain. And so we are an early stage company, but going down that same pathway as COMPASS, which is to say, pursuing rigorous clinical trials with the intention of getting an application in front of the FDA to ultimately have an FDA-approved medicine.
Mm-hmm. So in a best-case scenario, how soon is it till NeonMind becomes a revenue-generating proposition?
Yeah, so revenue generation in the psychedelic sector is not measured in the next couple of years. I think that the way we look at all of the programs that are in front of that are out there being developed, likely the earliest approval is 2024, 2025. And as I said earlier on the show, in the interview, we think within 5 years we could be approved, so 2026. Now that's in the drug development side of things. Our business also focuses on wellness products and advancing, mushroom infused functional foods. And so we have those products that, they don't proceed through the same clinical trials and Health Canada or FDA approvals. So those are on the market, and we market 4 mushroom infused coffees at the moment, and we have the plans to launch dietary supplements in the U.S. In the next 6 months.
Interesting. All right, Rob, that's a great introduction to the company. We're going to leave it there for now. We'll come back to you in a couple of months and see how you're making out. Thanks very much for your time today.
Great. Thanks for having me on.